Please put down your bolt gun. You have 20 seconds to comply.
Okay guys, that's probably the worst Ed 209 impression you're ever going to hear, and yeah, so I'm in front of my Ed 209 stroke Warhound Titan. I suppose that's my pseudo Robocop, also known as a Blood Angel. But yeah, it's finally finished, and if I struggled during the actual modelling stage of things, I really you know, enjoyed every single last minute of the painting stage. It really was a sheer joy to work on something so detailed and so big. It really was fantastic. And as you could see, going back a second ago with that Space Marine, for sheer scale, you know, when you got that Space Marine pretty much the same size of one of those toes there, you do get a sense of how big and detailed this model actually is. Now the paint, sort of going into the painting side of things, I chipped this up pretty much exactly the same as a video that I uploaded about a month or two ago, and it was a video showing you how to actually achieve paint chips on a model. So for those of you that might not have seen that video, I'll put a link down below so you can watch that video. But after doing the paint chips, I worked on something that I've been wanting to do for a while, but I've never got round to doing it, and it was working with artist oils. Now there's some great hobbyists out there in the community. I mean, I know Awesome Paint Jobs, one, he's been using oils for quite a while, and then people that have been working in the sort of like military modelling side of things, and the railroad, I know they've been using them for a long time, so I'm glad that I finally got in on the axe, if you like. And I loved it. I mean, I'm using the MiG Absalon oils, I hope I've said that correctly, and they work a treat. I used them in conjunction with turpentine, odorless turpentine. The reason for the odorless turpentine is because you don't want your model to smell particularly, but that's not the most essential part really. And as you can see with those rust streaks there, mixing the turpentine in like a Coke bottle lid with the actual oil paints, I was able to create my own wash with the desired thickness and opacity of the wash that I wanted. There's a wash on the whole of this model that you won't actually know that's there. I'd created a dark brown wash using I think it's called Shadow Brown from MiG oil range there, and I've made it so thin that it created just like a filter, so it covers all of that grey green armour colour without destroying the colour itself, but giving the model like a grubby oily look to it, which fits in with that sort of like really disgusting Nurgle theme. Okay, and that you can see there that the cool thing using the magnets, you've got the freedom of taking the top off and also, you know, playing with it like it's a toy. And yes, I'm sure I've swiveled the gun rounds and played around with it a fair bit, if I'm honest. Right, okay, so this is the rear of the Titan, and you can see here I've not done much pigment work on this Titan, to be honest. It was mostly done with the artist oils, but the MiG pigments that I used on the exhaust pipes that was made out of plastic card worked really well, and I come up with like a really simplistic way of applying them. I'm going to do a tutorial showing you exactly how I got that effect with the pigments, but it was very simplistic. It was just a case of mixing the base colour, which was I think it's called Old Rust from MiG, with a bit of water, with a bit of matte varnish, and then building up the lighter colour rust pigments on top of the wet matte varnish mix there. And all of the weathering's gone right throughout the model. I mean, the only thing that I'd like to get round to eventually is probably some of those deep holes. It's actually adding some weathering pigments in there, which wouldn't take too long. But I mean, even to get it to this stage, I really can't emphasise enough, guys, the sheer amount of hours to chip away at this model and add the rust streaks. It's just phenomenal. But the one cool thing about it is, no matter how many hours it took me to get to this stage, it was enjoyable, and that's the main thing. If you're enjoying it, time has no meaning really. Working on the toes, you can see that I wanted to make sure that the actual pistons themselves was a much lighter metallic colour than the rest, because the pistons, even though it's on a Nurgle, vehicle or a Titan, those pistons still would stay relatively clean. Like if you see a vehicle out in the elements, like a tractor, it may be dirty, it may be muddy, but you always see the pistons on the actual digger side of things. They still look fairly pristine. So I wanted to represent that on this model as well, and it creates like a nice little contrast between the different metallics. I also added some lenses from my 3D glasses into the Titan as well. I'd suggest anyone that gets hold of a Titan to definitely spend the time to try and get some lenses put in on the head there. It makes all the difference from me personally. Such a simple job to do, but it makes a big difference. And there's some metallic work done, magnet work done on the head there as well, and that's another thing that I would suggest anyone getting a Titan to do, is spend an extra hour or two in the modelling stage to put magnets in. Not only is it you're going to be thankful later on down the line when you want to transport the beast, but it's also nice to you know, put it on the gaming table and bring its guns to bear on whatever unfortunate unit's going to get that pie plate placed over. So magnet work's definitely a good idea on these things. So I mean, I'd say the build is complicated and it can be stressful, but take your time. You know, you definitely don't want to be rushing one of these things, and it's all worth it in the end. I feel really lucky to have it. So that's it for this one, guys. All the things that you see in this video, I'm going to try and cover pigment work and also oil paints, how I go about using them in a future video. So yeah, please rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.